Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil, and for this video what we're going to be doing is taking a look at the fleets in Star Wars, and we're going to be talking about whether or not I recommend using them on offense or defense inside of Grand Arena, Territory Wars. I think those are the two primary game modes again, because, Fleet Arena is just whatever your best fleet is, stick it in there. So, as always, guys, smash that subscribe button, leave likes, and leave comments. We're trying to hit 5,000 subscribers. If we hit 5,000 subscribers, our King Wampa will hit Relegate live on stream. You guys know the drill by now. Wampa needs Relegate, but first he needs you to get this channel to 5,000 subscribers. We have been growing so much, and I cannot thank you all for the love and support that this channel has gotten. It's been amazing. I've heard the amount of people I'm starting to see who are saying, "Oh, like I watch your videos, guys." Like it makes, it makes me blush a little bit. I'm surprised that this many people recognize me. So I really want to say thank you to all my faithful subscribers. Let's get at it. Let's talk about fleets in Galaxy of Heroes. I was originally going to call this Harsh Opinions, but we're just going to stick with fleets. So your first two fleets, right? The biggest two, your Profundity and your Executor. So my personal opinion is that Profundity is much better on offense in terms of what it can do. The Executor offensively is a fantastic ship. Do not get me wrong. The issue I have with Executor on offense is that the mirror match can be very, very RNG dependent. And not that the Profundity isn't, because all mirror matches in ships I feel have some RNG elements, but I feel that the Profundity, it's a lot easier to control it than the Executor one, where that opening play can completely determine whether or not you're going to win that mirror. So that's kind of why I like setting Executor on defense. I think there's a lot more RNG that comes from countering Executor than there is involved in countering Profundity. Even with these new Empire ships and everything in the game, I still think Executor is the way to go on defense, especially for an early player who, Executor's your first major fleet. Like, stick that thing on defense, and people are going to really struggle to clear it. So, Profundity is one of those that when you get it, I've seen a lot of people who will do, like, we call it the triple middle finger defense. You set Profundity, Executor, and Negotiator. My biggest problem with that defense is you really need to have solid offensive fleets to be able to pull that off, because if your opponent happens to save even just Profundity for offense, he's going to clear your Executor, or, they will clear your Executor. Let's say, what was that? Politically correct here. Hope you guys see how I feel about that. But your opponent will probably, they'll clear Executor, and now they've got, chances to do different things with Profundity and what else you set. So, again, I like to set Executor, and I like to keep Profundity. That's just me. But we've got some other fleets in here. So we've got the Malevolence, and we have the Negotiator. So my personal opinion here, Malevolence belongs on offense. It's not that it can't get defensive holds, but it requires a little bit more of manual play, I would say. Not just from like a reinforcement perspective, but more so just from when to apply buzz droids and things. It's pretty easy to get around as, when it's on defense, that, you can bring some different fleets that will really give it problems, compared to when you bring it on offense and where it can punch up to is what I think really, to me, gives it that, like, A+, yes, I love this fleet. Where the Negotiator, obviously you bring it offensively, it's going to struggle against Profundity. Depending on your relic levels, if you have a Relic 7 or Relic 8 Plo Koon, you can beat the triple attacker Executor lineup. I know that's a thing, but otherwise, it's not beating Executor, it's not beating Profundity, and the mirror match itself can be very dicey. Negotiator's one of those that I just kind of like to let my opponent figure it out. If they go and one-shot it, hey, good on them. But the amount of holds it's gotten me in GAC is absurd. That it really is one of those fleets that still defensively gives people a lot of problems. And it's one that I'd rather let my opponent figure out than me trying to figure out how to shoehorn it in on my offensive attacks. So, General Grievous, bring him on offense, let him do his thing, and General Kenobi kind of leave him on the defensive. And I'd even say that when you first get these two ships, like let's say for some reason you were able to unlock both of them at the same time, Negotiator defense and Malevolence offense, and you're going to do just fine. All right, so we have the First Order and Resistance fleets here. So we'll start with Holdo. The Resistance fleet defensively is I think it's a staple in Kyber 1. I think most people place that on defense. It's a solid fleet, right? That's just it. It's a solid fleet. It'll stop some stuff. It'll get holds once in a while, like, RNG, get some dodges, and you can really cause problems. I'd say that this fleet, the reason it's pretty good defensively is that it doesn't take, like, the AI plays it pretty well. That there's not a lot of these little mechanics involved in running that fleet as there are in the first order fleet with Hux, where who you get hunted is very important. Whether you're gaining turn meter, putting ability block, passing turn meter, all those different things, it's very important that you kind of manually play that. Plus, that Hux team can beat Executors, especially with the Houndstooth, Xanadu Blood, and Razor Crest starting lineup. So it's one of those that offensively it has a lot of options. I've actually used it to clean up Negotiators before. If you play your cards right, you can do that. It'll definitely struggle if it can't gain turn meter. That's one of the biggest plays the Finalizer has, is that turn meter gain. But otherwise, it's a pretty good ship. Both of these I think are, I'd say Finalizer is a tier above the Holdo ship, because where I give Holdo a lot of credit is it's just annoying that it's probably going to steal banners from your opponent because of Ray's AoE, because of the dodges and the damage they can put out. But it's normally not going to get holds, most likely. The Finalizer will never get holds, but offensively it can net you some really, really good returns. So offense, defense for those two. The last two ships we're going to cover here are Grand Moff Tarkin with the Executrix and Grand Admiral Thrawn with the Chimaera. And the way I want to look at this is you could early game players, right, or like mid game players before you have the Scythe and all those, fancy Empire ships. If you're going to bring your Empire on offense, you most likely want to use Tarkin. I think offensively it's easier, it's a little bit of a better ship in terms of damage and the bonuses you get for Empire units. But defensively, I definitely like the Chimaera for the survivability. That if you're going to one-shot the Executrix team, you're going to one-shot a Chimaera team, most likely. That it doesn't really work one way or the other, right? They're both very good ships. They just have different uses. Thrawn's ship defensively I really like because he has survivability mechanics built in there. He has the heal special, and then he also has the special where he annihilates the enemy ship, right? One of the crewed ships, and then heals one of his ships from, to full health and protection. And that's just really, really, can be really messy to clean up, and that's why I like it defensively. One of those fleets that I think you let your opponent figure out how to beat it, because with the Tarkin fleet, what I'll say is, unless your crewed ships have those heals built in, it's a lot easier to pick apart a Tarkin fleet than it is to pick apart a Thrawn fleet. Just my experience in terms of how I like to use them. Now, at the stage of the game that I'm in, most of the time I'm bringing both of these guys offensively because I'm always down fleets. Like when I get my resistance fleet, they're going right on defense. I just won't have any other way to use them. I think that'll be my best use for them. But when you only have one option for your Empire fleet, you just kind of, you figure out which one's going to work best. Sometimes you do want Thrawn offensively. For countering Profundity, Tarkin is the answer, right? That's the way that you want to use Tarkin to counter that Profundity. Whereas Grand Admiral Thrawn, I think, has a little bit more success with countering the Negotiator. So you kind of just work through which one's going to work best for you guys. And that's kind of the, the gist with fleets here. Now, as far as, I know some people are going to ask, well, what comp do you use for each fleet? And honestly, it's just so dependent upon what you're going up against. Like, fleets are something that kind of evolve depending on what you're doing. So I could do a whole video talking about how to use each fleet, and maybe that's something you guys would be interested in. So guys, let me know if you want me to kind of dissect these fleets and show you how I use them, why I use them, and what they're best. Obviously I said offense or defense here, but ways to counter them, things like that. So we could really deep dive fleets and I think make some good videos there. So I wanted to at least put this out here for you on how I use these ships, especially coming to a close in this GAC season. I think it's going to be important for players to kind of look at those defenses, especially now with this new Sith fleet coming to the game. I think it's going to be important that you know exactly where these fleets belong, because that Sith fleet's going to change everything, and you're going to need to understand how to either beat it or ensure that your opponent has a tougher time clearing your defense. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. As always, smash that subscribe button. We want to hit 5,000. Wampa needs Relic 8, guys. He needs it. And before I go, everybody's going to say, oh, how come you didn't cover, Admiral Akbar and Mace Windu? And the answer is very simple. I just don't think in the early game, right, you're going to use, you just skip endurance, right? You just skip endurance. And then the Admiral Akbar fleet, use it however you want. You could put it on offense, you could put it on defense. I think it's a little bit better on offense, but I don't want to spend a lot of time covering a fleet that I think most people you'll kind of figure out how to use Akbar. He's maybe the one that I should have covered a little bit more in depth, but I would just completely ignore Mace, which means with Akbar here, you just use him however you think he's going to suit you best. If you're going to use that fleet on offense, use it on offense, or just throw it on defense. Let your opponent figure it out, guys. That's the true end of the video. I love all of you. May the force be with you, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.